side of the island of Hawaii lay the Hilo and Puna districts. The rugged, almost lonely beauty of Puna contrasts against the capital of Hilo, which pulsates with activity, and the creative spirit of those who make Hilo their home.
Enormously, I guess, an affectionate and emotional recollection of Hilo, because I grew up in Mountain View, about 15 or 16 miles from here, and we used to come down, say, once or twice a year to Hilo, because this was the big town and we were from the country. And the 4th of July, for instance, the parades and the events, and Mohiao Park, where you now see was the center of activity. And Ike Fernandez, came to town for once a year, and I think we had something like 15 cents in our pocket, 5 cents for the ride to Hilo and 10 cents for the fare, and then we took home gifts at 10 cents. I was talking about the 30s. And Hilo was substantially different. It was the center for the island. It was surrounded by agriculture, sugar primarily. And the rest of the areas were truly rural, and they depended upon Hilo for not only the governmental center, but also the financial center and the commercial center. And I remember the trains running, right Makai of here on all of the shorelines. Almost everything moved by train, and all the way up Hamuku and all the way up to Glenwood area. And it was interesting. It was just a very live place, and everything occurred there. And the shops were pretty much as you see the remnants now of tiny, mom and pop family type of thing. And there were no supermarkets, obviously. And there were buildings and houses all along the front of the street. So what you see now in the redevelopment areas, open space, was just built up with all kinds of facilities. Commercial centers, and also tenements behind them. And of course the tidal wave of 46, the April 1st tidal wave of 46, it changed the physical frontage of Hilo, and also population moved around, and of course the devastating 1960 next large tidal waves again caused an enormous amount of damage. And so Hilo, as you see it today, is almost totally different from the Hilo that I grew up in the 30s and 40s. And the two major changes, the physical change, of course, is because of the tragedy of the two major tsunamis that hit here. And the other is, of course, the island economy has changed, where sugar has come down and is now a more limited part of the Hawaii's economy.
The decline of sugar production stimulated diversification of Hilo's economic base. Traditional sources of income, such as the fishing industry, have become a way of life for many. In the early morning dawn, the fish auction begins.
Today we have basically yellowfin tuna, and caught outside of Hilo and down south towards Kohiki side. And it's all locally caught last night and Saturday night. Since Monday is the first day of auction, we have fish that's been caught Saturday night, put in the reefer, and brought out today. Why we core the fish before auction is because it gives the buyer an indication of what's really happening within the fish itself. Color, texture, burn, we have a problem with burn being this far into the season. And this will be kind of like an indicator to show the buyer at least 70 to 80% what's really happening within the fish itself. 189 pounds, $1 for one.
Of course, it was a fishing community and a plantation community. The missionaries were very effective throughout the island here, as well as on other islands, in terms of converting people to Christianity. The Lymans had a unique role in this because even though David Belden Lyman was trained as a minister, he was first and foremost an educator. When they first came, the only place to stay basically was at the missionary homes. And so the Lyman Mission House was the stopping place for royalty and sea captains and people of note. When they came, the family had to make room for them. And that was the reason that you see up in the attic today cots and things for the youngsters, and in later years as they grew older, the family used to stay and open up their bedrooms for the traveling dignitaries.
Modern Hilo is alive with small, thriving businesses, one of which is the Hilo Macaroni Factory.
This is the process for how the crackers of Hilo Macaroni Factory are made. This is where it all begins. This is our mixing area. This is where we put all of our ingredients into this particular mixing machine here. It's ground up for several minutes and then put into vats. The vats are then taken over to our aging room on this side here. In cracker manufacturing, the dough has to age or sit for several hours before it can be rolled out or sheeted out and made into crackers. After the crackers are properly aged, then it's taken to what we call our first cutting machine. What happens here is that the machine will compress all the loose dough together, and someone will come and cut it to slabs such as these that are piled up here. Okay. Now this is a slab of compressed dough here. After the dough has been properly set for a while or allowed to rest, then we put it onto our second roller. This particular machine or roller compresses the dough to a thinner thickness. This is called sheeting. At this point here, we also recycle some of the material that comes back. Then after it's properly rolled, it's put on to our cutting machine on the other side here. Now, what the cutting machine does is it compresses the dough or sheets the dough to the so-called proper thickness that we desire. Then it's put to a cutter, then cut to different molds, different shapes, and then finally we have people who scoop. We use the term scooping for putting the dough onto a board and then into the oven over there. After the crackers are taken out of the oven, this process we call raking because they use a tool similar to a rake to bring out the crackers from the oven. After that's been done, it's put into containers such as these and then transported here to our sorting table. Here the crackers are sorted out and graded. The ones for sale and the ones that we use as rejects. Now this is the final stage where the packages are sealed, put into cartons and put away.
The tranquility of nature surrounding Hilo induces creativity and culture.
The style of dancing that we do is considered court type dancing, and court dancing is called ukwanshin wudui. Ukwanshin really refers to the ship that brings the crown. It refers to the dances that we perform at the coronation ceremonies of the kings of Okinawa. And according to what was explained to me by the teacher, the sensei, was that it took about 3 years of training prior to the actual ceremony. And it was from these teachers or these dancers that my own teacher learned his dance techniques. And it has been passed down from his father to my sensei and to several of his students, and I feel lucky to have been one of his students.
The traditional Chinese dance, to me, is my heritage, my roots. It's something that I can't get away from. Modern dance is my expression. It allows me to do anything I want to do. It allows me to say anything I want to say. Whereas traditional dance, you fit into the dance don't fit into you. You know what I mean? You have to be that character. It's already set. Whereas in Western dances, you are allowed the freedom to be whatever you want to be, to say whatever you want to say. Traditional dances, I don't think, allow you that freedom. I don't feel like I would be the same person anywhere else in the world of who I am today. And bottom line is, I feel I'm very close to truth living in Hilo. Very simple, very basic. Every day you have to face yourself. Every day you have to face people who are simple, who doesn't like a lot of frills, a lot of things, material things, very basic.
My photography and just helped me as a notes to make a sketch. When I was there, I could not paint right there because you don't have time to put equipment. When I use camera, and I took the pictures, when I bring home several thousand pictures, will give me lots of reference. I've been in Hilo 19 years. I chose Hilo as my home because I love Hilo very much. Hilo is a place between the rich and poor doesn't have much difference. The rain doesn't bother me at all. I love the water. And I painted, most of my paintings related with water, snow and clouds, waterfall, and my pictures also. The water and mountains in the Chinese philosophy means many things. And my own feelings is water is always moving, pure, clean, energy, and help human beings so much, so important. So I love water, so that's why I always paint water. And in Hilo, and so many beautiful things, the bay, the waterfall, and the volcano. When I paint watercolor, I enjoy very much. It's a very relaxing work. You don't have worries. The materials are not that expensive. If it's not good, you change another paper. And life is limited, but art is unlimited. A good artist suppose let the audience to be happy, to be unlimited. That's the philosophy of artists should be. So when I paint this, I feel this way. Just do it, enjoy it. No matter if the mountain is higher, lower, doesn't matter. It's not that important.
I was born in northern China near Siberia. I grew up in Japan, so I took my first art lessons in Japan. In that time, the ladies take art, not because you become an artist, but to be a lady, you should know how to write poems and play music instrument and do some artwork, and just to have your prestigious, standard. I wasn't quite serious, but I really enjoyed, to create something. Then afterwards, we went back to China. I took from Chinese masters, and gradually I really become very interested in art. My type of work is that I go out and sketch or take photographs and try to put on the silk. But there's no way that I can paint as pretty as the God's creation. The nature is so beautiful, I cannot do it. So rather to struggle to make it like a real, I make my own interpretation. Sometimes maybe it look like artificial flowers, but I think that will also show my character, my soul, and I just keep, creating my own small world.
My name is Deluz. I'm born and raised in Hilo. Lived here all my life. I learned wood carving in '69, start carving different woods. But when you know you got a good piece, you don't want to sell it. Then you know you really got a good, then you know you're in a ball game, you're doing something good. The main thing is quality. If you can't do a quality product, don't do it. Usually Milo and Ko are the easier woods that people start off with. Ko is considered a hard wood to work in, but actually it's one of the best. It's easy for us now. It's really, no woods are hard for us now, because it's the same principle. Some just cuts a little harder. Some is a little bit different on sanding, but it's really not that bad. I work with all the different woods. We dip them in mineral oil. It brings all the natural colors of the wood out. We dip it for about 3 times and let it sit overnight. This is one that's been dipped already, but we put a couple of butterfly patches on them. You can see the Hawaiian butterfly patches on 2 sides. That's the finished product. It stays there overnight and wipe it down and be ready to use.
Although we're listed almost like a small city, we're basically a small town. The people are very caring and very close and very compassionate, and there's a sensitivity between all of the cultures. We all intermingle. The religious aspects, the shopping attitudes, etc., are all very responsible to itself, and each individual is responsible to your community. You feel this responsibility to the community of Hilo to give back something because it gives so much. In my work in handmade paper, mixed media constructions, that's what I call what I do. What I'm attempting to do is to tell stories. I'm telling a lot of personal stories. I'm telling stories about what I see, the shapes I see, the colors I see, what motivates me. In my work, I personify the essence of womanhood, the essence of woman, of mother, who I am, in my little characters, in the dogs and in the cats that roam around the colorful environments. The stylization, the childlike forms. I want to relate to my children. I want to relate to children. I want to relate to the population, the child of the population. That pureness. It's not a real educated art. It's more of a folk art. It's a person's art. It's a folk craft. It's art for people. It's the same thing like quilts, like an old family quilt or an heirloom piece of tatting or lace, something that's very precious but not made from precious materials.
Designer Zane creates a legacy of precious material by immortalizing the shape of native Hawaiian plants onto fabric.
Well, sometime back when I was a farmer, not really, maybe call it gentleman farmer, I used to work in the taro patch, and it was real close, those leaves, so that's what one of the first design was, a taro leaf. And then after that I kind of went into playing around with the other Hawaiian plants, the ie or the ohia, because I got so much of it over here. I guess that's the direction I like working in. I've been all over the world, but nothing beats Hilo in terms of living and surrounded by all this green. It's easy to be inspired. I try to make it a little educational, in the sense that a lot of people might see it, some plants, but they don't know the name of it, and I try to make that known in my work. I try to bring out things that maybe they don't know the name, and I will say it and reiterate it so that it stays in their mind, and at least it, besides being functional wear, it's educational.
We leave Hilo and journey to Puna, where the rich volcanic soil spawns fields of orchids. Puna's rugged landscape is unusually still in the wake of the threat of future volcanic flows.
I think the future for this island is fantastic. To me, this is a sleeping giant. Island of Hawaii is a sleeping giant. And I say that because most people think that Honolulu, Hawaii, they think that you're on Hawaii. And if they want to go visit another island, maybe they go to Maui, maybe they go to Kauai. But now they're beginning to find out that, by golly, there is an island called Hawaii. My grandfather was W.H. Shipman, and I spent an entire year living down here with W.H. Shipman and Herbert Shipman, his son. We now live in Herbert's house down by the water. I started collecting electromechanical items, such as the telephone, and then that sort of branched into other lines, and before I knew it, I was collecting phonographs. My wife Jackie and I moved back 1969 from Honolulu to Hilo. She said, "How many old cameras do you have?" I said, "I have no idea." I said, "We'll have to get them out and pack them though." And so at that time we had around 60, and now I think I have over 100.
The Big Island, Puna in particular, is so alive with subject matter. One could spend the rest of their life just on the beach stones, just the particular forms that you can find in the beach stones along the Puna coast. You could draw landscapes for the rest of your life. There's no end to the subject matter here. The light is so beautiful. The climate is so beautiful. It's a perfect place to work. The limitation of living on the Big Island, in Puna in particular, I find is a benefit for me. It gives you time to work out your themes and work out your forms and understand yourself better before you start taking it out to the marketplace or the world, the art world, and you can test your mettle, as they would say. I'm very pleased to be able to work, thanks to my family, my wife Diane, and my children, but I'm never really satisfied. I'm always in love with the piece that I'm working on, and there's great hope in that, but there's never any real satisfaction, or never any real feeling that you've accomplished anything. It's the next piece.
The wave is such an incredibly beautiful phenomenon of nature that is really exhilarating to watch. And I think it speaks of something very, very ancient, almost like a primal energy form that's been around for billions of years. And you look at a wave or a painting of a wave, and it could be a wave that broke on the shores of Antarctica 100 million years ago, or it could be breaking right now somewhere on the beaches of Hawaii. It always has that same feeling and that same look about it. What I deal with is energy patterns. When I'm painting the waves, I'm essentially dealing with the energy patterns and the light patterns that are going by. And they repeat themselves with the universal regularity that I think everybody feels on an intuitive level. A lot of people look at my paintings and they say, "Wow, it looks like a photograph," which is a compliment of sorts. But what I'm aiming at, and what some people occasionally, they'll look at a painting and say, "God, that's better than a photograph." And that is really what I'm aiming at, because it's not that difficult really to make a painting that looks like a photograph. But it's a little more difficult to go beyond that, and in other words, provide all the visual information that's there, but improve upon it and enhance it. And that's what I'm trying to do with most of my paintings is to create that sense of realism without adhering strictly to the photographic image. In other words, I'll adjust everything in the picture to fit the needs of the painting.
My name is Robert Keliihoomalu, born and raised in Kalapana. Met my wife, we both moved back. At that time we didn't have no electricity like we have now, so she has to wash clothes, so she had to pack the clothes down here, and we have a pond right down here on the Malka side of the Black Sand Beach, and that's where she used to wash her clothes by hand.
Back then in 1962 was so quiet and was so beautiful too that time, and the ocean, the sand was so nice, you know, didn't have any washout at that time. And I enjoyed living here in Kalapana. My hope for my children is to live in Kalapana, but there's hardly any job around here, so they have to go out and, you know, look for job. The children are welcome to come back anytime they want to.
This is it. No place like Hilo. Yeah, Hilo is home, you know, the place here is home for us. And you can go away for a few years, but you always come back to Hilo because this is where we're born, this is where we're raised. And our childhood was good, and we'd like for our children to be able to experience that kind of childhood too. And, you know, the land, the area, the people mean a lot